My name is Pierre Laveau. I'm one of the co-founders of Seat at the Table. Been around since inception. By way of background, I was an investment banker at Goldman Sachs in New York City for 11 years. So paid my dues there, really understanding capital markets. And really that's where the thesis for Seat at the Table actually came about. And it came about just really providing a table for investors and entrepreneurs to transact. Ideally, entrepreneurs from marginalized backgrounds to get access to investment capital, and from those from similar backgrounds to get access to investment opportunities. One thing I want you all to take from this call is that we are firm believers in the idea that everybody deserves access to venture capital. It should be a marginal or reasonable part of your portfolio. Please consider all the risks that are inherent with venture capital investing, private investing. Do your research and your diligence. But we feel that it is important that everybody on this call and within our communities have access to invest in the products that they consume, the stores that they may visit, the services that they may utilize. Historically, venture capital was only available to what's considered to be accredited investors, so wealthy individuals that make over $200,000 or more and have $1 million balance sheet. President Obama signed the Jobs Act many years ago, which allowed for non-accredited investors, so the majority of America, to be able to invest in venture capital and to invest in the companies that they're actually, interacting with and engaging and supporting. So now you have the opportunity to support your favorite company by, one, purchasing their product or purchasing their service, but also being an investor, a long-term partner. And then once again, I'll always recap with make sure you do your own diligence on your end. As Shaquinta had mentioned, a couple of things that we want to chat about today is why we are engaging in what's called a community round. We casually use the term equity crowdfunding, but it can be equity or debt. So at Seat at the Table, we like to reference it as community round because we are engaging our community, or we are allowing founders and entrepreneurs the opportunity to engage our community as well. And then next, I want to talk about what is Seat really in terms from a day-to-day tactical perspective. As an investor in Seed, what should your experience be? What is the experience from everyday users as well? Then third, it'll be what's next, what's in pipeline for Seat at the Table. And then I have a good friend of mine who's actually the lead investor for this round, named Andre. Would love to talk to him for 2 minutes just to talk about his experiences and why he invested in Seed. I know he's logged in, so looking forward to hearing from him. And then lastly, I'll make room for any live questions that may exist. It's an intimate group, which is okay. We're never scared of that. We actually prefer that way. We like to know people that we are working with and that are investors in Seed. We casually reference this concept of family. And so maybe that's a great way. Well, I'll come back to family when I talk about what is Seed, but let me talk about community round or this community round. We've been around for 3+ years. We've been allowing entrepreneurs to come to us and raise capital through us for about 1.5 years. We had some very successful launches, and I think every launch is successful, meaning that the challenge in the world today from a finance perspective is that entrepreneurs are precluded from accessing capital. So when you think about it as an entrepreneur, especially those from marginalized communities, the trek for capital is typically you exhaust your own balance sheet. Second, if you're fortunate to have a robust, wealthy friends and family network, you may call on those individuals. That's typically not the case for many marginalized founders. Third is that you'll go to a bank and you'll say, hey, I have a company or a product, we're revenue generating or not, I would love a loan. Many instances, you'll be denied a loan, given that there's no assets or collateral to actually back the loan. Sometimes the bank will actually require you to put your house in collateral if you own a house and so forth. So, going to a traditional bank can be a challenge for many entrepreneurs, especially for those that have companies that are scaling. The company may not even exist yet, and they just need what's called friends and family capital to kind of launch. And then fourth, it's traditional venture capital backed by a venture capital fund. Those companies, those funds are actually looking for ideas and businesses that can typically lead to 100x return, right? And so we at Seat at the Table, we are not a fund. We're once again a legal platform that allows clients to raise capital, but we are also a launching pad for many in the venture capital community. Many companies that have launched through Seat at the Table that have gone on to have successful raises are now well positioned for venture capital. But there are some companies that we've launched that, their exit or their liquidity event or the way that they may allow their investors to get paid back is simply by being acquired by another firm, right? And so, we're very mindful that every company does not have to be venture backed. We're mindful of the fact that all the products that you consumed, I would say the majority of them aren't venture backed as well. They're either kind of friends and family owned businesses, or private equity backed businesses and so forth that are transacting among each other, and that's an opportunity to get paid. So we recognize the paths to capital for an entrepreneur and that they are really thin. So what we ended up doing at Seed is that we've expanded that friends and family definition by allowing, family in the cultural sense, being everybody we know, the opportunity to invest at lower dollar amounts. So with community crowdfunding, as opposed to the old world of venture, where you were required to be wealthy and cut a $25,000, $50,000 check to have access to an investment opportunity, now you can be a quote unquote non-wealthy individual and cut $1,000, $500, $5,000, whatever the case may be, and be an investor in a company that you want to support. And that you want to be involved with. So that's the beauty of community or equity crowdfunding. The reason why we are going through this process is that we've had success in raising capital through our existing friends and family network. There are many people that were eager to invest with us. There were two groups of individuals that did not have the opportunity. First were the accredited folks that missed out on the deadlines, or in both instances when we raised, we were oversubscribed. So there are a couple of individuals in that pack that weren't able to get in on earlier rounds. And now, we wanted to be intentional to make space for those individuals as well. And then second, we want to eat our own cooking in a sense that we know that it is important to allow the community the opportunity to participate in the growth story of something that, we collectively have created. So we wanted to make sure that there was space for non-accredited investors to be able to invest in Seed, given that they're supporting Seed, they're investing in the companies that are launched on Seed. They may be consuming products for the companies that are launched on Seed as well. So we started this round. It's a relatively smaller round of 50,000 to make sure that we can firmly say that, hey, we made space for the community to be able to get in and access and partner with us early, under the assumption that they've done all their research and understand the risk and so forth. So what is Seed? We are what's formerly known as an equity crowdfunding portal. It can be both equity and debt. That's why we kind of coined the term community crowdfunding. It can take the form of equity or debt. More importantly, we're an ecosystem, meaning that when companies come to us and they raise capital with us, they know that it's going to be a more of a white glove experience, in a sense that we are more involved. We truly understand the process for marginalized founders raising capital can be a bit more unique and nuanced than majority members. And so when I say white glove, meaning everybody that comes on board with us is interfacing with Shaquinta, they're interfacing with myself, and they're also interfacing with this concept, as I mentioned, in terms of family, right? And so these are 40 plus individuals that have worked in banking, consulting, entrepreneurship themselves. Maybe they're presidents at CPG firms. Most, if not all of them, are from marginalized communities themselves. And so what ends up happening is when we have an entrepreneur come to us and say that they want to raise capital through us, we end up matching those entrepreneurs with a family member, either officially or unofficially, to provide them with additional guidance. So in comparison to our peers, their relationship is just based on the transaction. Or excuse me, our competitors, their relationship is just based on the transaction. They'll provide a platform for the company to raise capital. We do the same, but we also provide them with resources in terms of mind share, also in terms of actual introduction. So many entrepreneurs that have come through us and raised capital through us have done a great job and raised it successfully, but they've also benefited tremendously by having access to our network, having a seat at the table and access to our network. The flip side of that is on the investor side. We want to make sure that we continue to vet the names of the companies that we're bringing on board. We're very thoughtful about those companies as well. But we want to make sure that we provide you all, investors, just the general public, with access to some of the best ideas or some ideas that they may be considering. We want to give you good resources in terms of running diligence on those ideas. And we want to also make sure that we're in a position to give you resources as you think about just kind of day-to-day wealth management topics. So for example, we did a seminar, we had a video out on trust and estate planning. We've had videos out on what is venture capital. We really find that it's important for our community to have access to information, right? Which is different from access to capital, or dollars, but they're both forms of capital. So for Seat at the Table, it literally is a platform where you're getting access to information, access to capital, and access to investment opportunities. As it pertains to FINRA, who is our regulator in the SEC, we are an equity crowdfunding portal that simply allows for transactions, but we make sure that we are more of a resource to the investment community and the entrepreneur community than that. What I would like to do is talk about what's coming up next. We continue to grow the platform. We just had a successful launch that closed late last week. A Black woman-owned vodka company that did extremely well, raised her amount in what I would think is probably actually record time. And so, given that we are long-term partners, we're happy and proud of her transaction. The fact that she was able to open up her company to her community and our community and allow that cap table to be reflective of her community. But also, we are long-term partners. So whether it's events that we are hosting or events that people in our network are hosting, we will surely make sure that they are considering that company, that product for those events. And we will continue to advocate and tout the name of those companies as well. We have a speaking engagement with InvestFest with the guys from Earn Your Leisure. We look forward to meeting any of those in our community, in our family, that may be down in Atlanta to attend those events. We'll be at National Black MBA talking about access to venture capital as well, and that's in Philadelphia for any of those that are around. And we'll continue to put out content that's relevant to the community. So if there are any topics, whether it be, should I set up a will? What does that look like? Kind of like, where do I start up a savings account? Whatever the case may be, feel free to reach out to Shaquinta, offer that suggestion to her. Her email is support@seatathetable.com. And so if you have any ideas in terms of topics that you would love to cover that are finance related, we are happy to help. And also, we're in the business of trying to launch as many companies as possible. We have some really good companies in queue, but we look to our community to provide us access and our intros to companies that you think would be a good fit for community crowdfunding. And we would love to have those conversations. And the reality is, over the last 3 years, we probably talked to 300 companies. Many of them have gone through the process of trying to, find a way to raise capital. Some have fallen out of the process. We've had some successful raises as well. But for the 300 that we talked to, we continue to be strong partners with them and to provide them with resources. Even if it's not coming through us and raising capital through us, we provided them with resources in terms of, our digital marketing partners, being Power Digital, whether it be legal counsel recommendations, getting their company incorporated, started up, and so forth. So happy to be your community resource, to be an extension of your network and allow you to navigate our network as well. Looking forward to questions, but I want to make sure that one thing that's clear, because I didn't talk about it, our business model is that we get paid on a percentage of dollars that are raised. So if you think of a company were to raise $100,000, we charge 7% of that raise amount. So we'll say $7,000. That's in the form of revenue to us. We typically, if it's a venture scaled opportunity, out of that 7%, 5,000 of that would be in cash and revenue. The other 2,000 would be in the form of that same investment vehicle that the entrepreneur issued. So we want to be long-term partners and long-term investors. Ideally, 10 years from now, we want to make sure that we have as many logos as possible on our platform to say not only that we help them launch and they paid us revenue, but we are investors in them and their success as well. So that really sticks it to the saying of long-term partners. Look forward to answering any questions that may pop up after I defer to Andre for a quick minute or two. But thank you for your time. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your dollars. I appreciate your advocacy. We continue to do the impossible. It really feels that way sometimes, but we have an incredible team who's really committed to providing space for entrepreneurs and the broader community to have the access to invest in venture capital. So let me find Andre and bring him up.
And real quick, Andre, you may have received an invite to become a panelist.
Yes.
If you saw that really quickly in Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, he's in there. Perfect. Andre, obviously you and I, we've known each other for quite some time. A bunch of investors already, or that invested earlier in Seat at the Table. I would just really love just your kind of general thoughts on what we're doing, why you decided to invest, what you hope to gain from the experience, and just, things that you would ask the audience or encourage the audience to think about, of course, beyond, doing your own diligence and being mindful of risk and so forth. But yeah, we'd love just to hear your thoughts and also tell them about your background so they can get a feel for who you are too.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if can you guys see me or no?
We can't. It says no photos available. So we can't see you.
I don't know what's going on there, but and by way of background, so I I graduated Morehouse College in 2011, been working in the finance industry since. Most recently, I'm in my 8th year at Goldman Sachs in private wealth management, and that's where I initially met with Pierre. So I've been a professional investor for 12 years now, and Pierre said something that really resonated with me, which was the first question I ever had about what's the purpose of my career when it was time for us to go to market with a product. And then I wanted to follow along. And the answer I got was no, you don't have enough money to do XYZ, even though it's my job to sell XYZ. It's my job to know about what that product is inside and out. And I'm supposed to be able to tell somebody that they can do it. But when they ask me, am I going to do it alongside them? My answer is no, because I don't have enough money. It's kind of like that eat your own cooking phrase that Pierre used earlier. I felt like I wasn't able to do that. And quite frankly, I feel like it's the foundation, the backbone of capitalism is to invest in things on the ground floor, watch a company go from being worth nothing to being worth something. You think about how companies like Facebook, they started in a dorm locker room, and Amazon started in a garage. These are the ideas that when people have access to large sums of capital, they're able to get in very, very early and see those incremental returns, those 40x returns, those 100x returns. And by the time those products get to the public markets, it's already too late for you to see that kind of incremental return within a short time horizon. And that's what investing in early stage companies provides you. And also, as a person of color, I've always felt like a part of my mission should be to educate those people. The primary clientele that I service are not people of color. They're people who come from that traditional, have ultra high net worth assets background. So I rarely get to speak to people of color. I rarely get to invest in people of color, invest alongside people of color. And this platform provides me the opportunity to do that. It's always something that I've been very passionate about as a person of color myself, like not only enriching myself, but enriching the community around me. And this allows me to do that.
Perfect. No, Andre, I think you articulated that extremely well. So thank you for that. And I think you and I can talk for hours about the inability to access amazing ideas, while also sitting among some of the smartest, sometimes factual, sometimes loosely stated, smartest individuals ever on earth, right? And being around some of the best ideas as it pertains to investment and just in life in general. So we were afforded access to a network, and you still are, obviously, that many of our peers and our family members were not. And so what we're doing now with Seat at the Table is that we're literally trying to bridge the gap and make sure that, anything that we have access to within the Seed family, that we want to make sure that the community has access to as well, and allow them to be informed enough to do to have good insight, right? In collaboration with us, but have good insight and opinion on their own, the ability to do their own diligence, to do their own research, to be mindful of risk as well, to decide whether or not they want to be able to invest in this opportunity or simply to learn more, right? Because the beauty of it is that you'll see names come across the portal, and it may be a fit for the community or it may not be, but the reality is you have the opportunity to learn vicariously through another entrepreneur about the experience of being an entrepreneur, some of the challenges, right? What their goals are as well. So, I encourage everybody that's on the call or that may listen to this later, because I know a lot of people are planning to listen to the recording of it, is that, understand the value in being able to invest and be a tangible owner or debt lender or debt provider to a company, but also, think about the ability to have access to a founder, right? And to really be able to, at least a little more access to any other company to talk about their experiences, because now you are an investor, right? And so now, you have aligned interest with that founder, and they know that you are a supporter in terms of consuming that product and investing as well. So Andre, thank you for your time. Thank you for leading this effort. Yep. Always appreciate you, and I appreciate your advocacy as well.
Yep. And that, I guess just my final comment would be for everyone is to take a long-term view. None of this happens overnight. And kind of what you've seen people, at least the most prominent people, when they talk about investing on social media and on TV, it's mostly they had an idea and they immediately turned it into profit. That's not really how it works in most cases. You got to be willing to say that this isn't going to be what I think it could be for the next 5, 10, or even 20 years in some cases. So just being ready to know that investing isn't a get rich quick scheme. Investing is, in fact, investing. Like you invest in yourself, things take time. So will this.
That's great, man. Thank you. That's a great segue into me reminding everybody to do their own research. You know, the way that I think about community crowdfunding is, be mindful of the risk, right, as it pertains to the company itself, but also as it pertains to your balance sheet, right? So there are limitations that the SEC and FINRA places in terms of the maximum amount that you can invest per year based on your income. And it's all with interest of protecting you, making sure that you're not in over your head with any investment. So, to Andre's point, think about it as a long-term investment. Ideally, think about it as money that, you have no interest in following up on a daily basis. You can if you want, but these are some of the things that are complementing maybe some of the other investment type opportunities that you're doing historically. Stocks and bonds have been, traditionally available to everybody, whereas now you can actually access the venture and private markets through community crowdfunding. So I'll stop there. I know that there are some questions, and thank you again, Andre. There are some questions from the audience. I saw your questions, Travis, and I should have promoted you to panelist. That's probably what it was, Shaquinta. I apologize. As Travis, I see your questions. One is in regards to the competition. So the primary competition are Start Engine, WeFunder, and Republic. They have tons of ad dollars. You probably get ads from them all the time. They've been around for quite some time. They are actually doing a lot of acquisition work on their end in terms of acquiring smaller or other portals as well. That's something that is very intriguing to us as we continue to grow. We think about, what is our exit opportunity? What does that look like? Who do we partner with, and so forth? Our differentiating factor is that we are focused on marginalized founders. We provide this concept of ecosystem and family, right? So we tend to be a bit more resource rich, a bit more of a long-term partner than the competitors that are out there in market and that are just primarily focused on the immediate transaction. Travis, I got the second part of your question in terms of the other question in terms of why go through WeFunder. Legally, you're not able to list an offering as a portal through your own portal. You have to go through another portal. So we ultimately chose WeFunder among the other groups, given that we just had a relationship with them and we saw some business come through them as well. But the reality is, had we had the opportunity to invest, to launch through our own portal, we would have done it. But per rules of the SEC and FINRA, we weren't able to do so. I'll stop there. I don't know if there are any other questions that may exist. If so, feel free to present them via chat and or to raise your hand.
Yeah, we have one from Jillian. What are the criteria and requirements for listing a crowdfunding campaign on your platform? And do you provide any marketing or promotional support to help businesses reach their fundraising goals?
Great. So actually, unlike our competitors, we are industry agnostic, meaning that it doesn't have to be a tech company. It doesn't have to be a creative like CPG, or sorry, like a CPG company that's doing $500,000 a year in revenue. There are no revenue requirements. There are no industry requirements. We are open to everybody to launch with us. We give special consideration to those from marginalized communities because once again, we can resonate with their entrepreneurial journey. But once again, we're open to everybody. So to answer your question, the business has to be formed or close to being formed. Ideally, we would love it to have some traction. We've had many wins with companies that have launched meaningful amounts of dollars that have just been up and running for a couple of months. We have had companies that have been up and running for 7 years, right? And the dollar amounts have varied in terms of what they were able to raise and where they were on the growth journey as well. Yes, we do provide marketing and promotional support via the family, via the network, via our own social media as well. We have an amazing team with Shaquinta, Darius, who's a really good guru as it pertains to marketing, some tech expertise and some legal expertise as well. But we pride ourselves on being resource rich, so we extend our resources to our entrepreneurs, just like we extend our resources to those within the community that may have questions or may be in need as well. Jillian, I hope that answered your question in full. Any other questions out there or any other points of consideration? Well, look, man, I want to make sure that it wasn't, too formal. One thing I'll tell you is that we're passionate about the work that we've done at Seed. I spent a large part of my life helping wealthy people become wealthy. right, and doing okay for myself at that time, I would say that, you know, there's been nothing more from a work or professional or work perspective. There's been no job that's been more enjoyable than this. Really, you know, creating a legacy, providing space for our community to transact, having some historic wins in terms of allowing people that were legally prevented, not legally, I would say that there was so much red tape historically that will prevent them from accessing capital. And then allowing those entrepreneurs to access capital. So these are like the most marginalized of marginalized communities, right? People prison impacted have been able to raise capital through seed, and they're doing great work for their communities, providing great product as well. We've had two Black women founders go on, you know, within partnership with Seed and after going on to raise over $1 million. And to give you perspective, there have only been 150 Black women to have ever since the beginning of time to raise $1 million. So we could say that two of those logos have come through Seed. We are still supporters. We're still actually investors, given our comp structure as well. And we continue to do great work, man. So we're looking for many opportunities to partner. If there are others in your community that are considering investing, please share the link with them. We're fairly close to our goal of 50,000 for this round. If there are people in your network that want to be investors in companies that we launch, please continue to advocate and tell them about Seed at the Table. If there are people in your network that are thinking about raising capital, we enjoy those conversations and would love to find a way to partner with them, whether it be launching them through Seed and or simply just providing them with other resources through our ecosystem. And with that said, I want to give thanks for all of you for joining us this evening. If you have any questions, you can reach us at seedattethetable.com. You can email support@seedattethetable.com. You can email info@seedattethetable.com. Please continue to check our WeFunder offering page. If you have any other follow-up questions, please communicate through the comment box on the WeFunder page. That way that it's just a FINRA requirement, but more importantly, there may be others in your network that have similar questions and they can see the responses too. Thank you for your time, and wishing you all luck out there and a safe summer. And thank you again for being a part of our family.